It's now called the Plymouth Brethren Church. Traced back to England in the 1800s, it's spread to 18 countries with tens of thousands of members worldwide.
It's very controlling, you're kind of watched every step that you take, everything, every decision that you make, you have to get approval for.
There's dress codes, you cannot eat with other people who are out in the world.
By the way, I'll just warn you in 5 minutes, if you don't get off...
Have you got a fear of the government of God?
Are you believers?
You're threatening us?
We are not threatening you.
Are you believers?
We are not threatening you. You are threatening us.
I couldn't bear the untruths anymore. I couldn't bear the treatment.
I know the Brethren do surveillance because I've been asked to do it myself.
Well, I think that the Brethren's attitude to family life is hypocritical because they say so much about the family, but they are seen to break up families.
There is a warm, loving feeling while you're in, but it's what they do to those who want to leave.
And there's so much control, so much regulation.
And severe consequences if you don't follow the rules.
Very few families have ever left the Brethren intact. The way the Brethren are set up, you have to lose so much that it's basically not worth it.
Hey kid, are you sick of the man keeping you down? Tired of the daily grind that the modern day evils of the world throw at you day after day? Sick of that sense of overbearing dread when life just pelts you with more and more horror as the hours tick by? Well, if you happen to find yourself in life's metaphorical splash zone, then don't reach for the off switch just yet, because the fine folks at the exclusive Brethren might just have the answers you're looking for. If, like them, you see the outside world as the domain of the devil and want to take on the holy responsibility of ignorance towards any outside of your sect, then they'll welcome you with open arms. Their, unorthodox methods may be strange to newcomers.
When Matt's dad died 2 years after he left the church, he was banned from the funeral service and forced to stand 20 metres away from Brethren members during the burial.
But fear not, because although the practices of shunning, isolation from loved ones, and punishments that many have described as psychologically traumatising, which has in some cases led to suicide, may be new to you, but trust them, for they know the true path, and they will guide you along it into the open, warm, loving embrace of the Lord himself. And when the world is soaked in the fires of hell, Jesus Christ himself will shield you from such unrelenting devilry. As, like your fellow brethren, you excluded the world, spat at the kindness of strangers, and watched from the sidelines as your fellow man fell prey to the malevolence of modern society. Makes sense to me. So what are you waiting for? Throw your family to the wayside? Destroy your relationships with all those who refuse to listen to your, in quotes, dogmatic ramblings, and take your first step into the path towards heaven.
Any contact with the outside world was not allowed. So there was no TV, there was no radio.
There was a lot of rules. No pre-recorded music, no worldly literature, no TV, no radio.
It was forbidden to go to university.
You can only work for a Brethren company.
You can't move house without permission. It's a very, very restricted life.
Okay, so to get serious, these people are, janked in the brain, and I think, they work as a pretty good example of how religion can just absolutely balk your mind. Now, I'm not an atheist per se. I have a sense that there might be something up there, but in my mind, people have only ever had the vaguest sense of a higher power since, we started worshipping the sun and dragging stones 200 miles to build henges or whatever. So my question has always been, if our sense of faith is born from such vagary, then how can certain religions have such stringent rules? I get it, people have dreams and prophecies, but so did this guy. And, with that being the case, that's never really proved anything in my mind. Sure, there are the 10 Commandments, but again, to me, they've always just struck me as, just pretty basic rules to form a stable, polite society. so that doesn't do much to sway me. I mean, but anyway, my bewilderment at the generally strict doctrine that most religions demand you adhere to aside, what do these fucking quacks believe? Well, let's see, shall we?
Well, we're often referred to as exclusive brethren because we practice separation from evil, if you like, the exclusion of evil.
Well, I think we would have a saying which is in the world but not of it. And that would be our pathway.
We're not taking a higher position than anybody because we take the position we are more responsible than any others. That's one thing we would say. We are the most responsible people on this earth.
Their doctrine of separation means that they do not make friends or even eat with worldly people. They're building their own schools and in the last 30 years have refused college education to their children.
So, the main thing these people believe is that the devil resides in all things exterior to their squad of holy little rascals. So it goes without saying that they don't allow music, television, radio, access to the internet, or even basic verbal communication with anyone they deem as evil, which unfortunately is absolutely fucking everyone. I mean, the Teletubbies? Satan. Bluey? A godless whore. Nemo? You mean demon? I imagine if they were anywhere within 500 metres of a Slipknot song playing, it would just be like a sonic boom of ungodly horror washing away their innocence as all the flesh was stripped from their bones. Or, you know, they're just a bit fucking cuckoo. So, where did all this start? Well, this man here is John Nelson Darby. And other than looking like the typical ghost you'd see stalking the halls of a Victorian mansion, he is the founder of the Plymouth Brethren Church, later the Exclusive Brethren. You see, in 1833 he analysed the Bible and came to the obvious conclusion that after a 7-year tribulation, which is the period of time leading up to the end of the world, Jesus Christ would return, rapture his chosen people, and in a time of peace reign in a 1,000-year-long messianic kingdom. Now, aside from the fact that the idea of the rapture, which is used by certain Christian sects to feel quite literally holier than thou, where all of the chosen Christians, along with those already deceased, will ascend into heaven naked as the day they were born, leaving only their clothing behind. I mean, they have to be naked, obviously, especially the dead people. The dead people have to bear everything. Well, that idea doesn't actually exist in any form of historic Christianity.
I'm extremely confused.
So, it seems to me like someone had a fever dream. And when you're high on your own sense of godly self-righteousness, your delusional imaginings can only possibly be divine messages from on high. I mean, of course, my brain isn't slush. It's the world who are wrong. Well, they'll see. They'll all see.
John Nelson Darby believed very much his doctrine was keeping separate from evil, which, as the faith goes, is not altogether a bad doctrine, but it was taken to extremes. In 1959-60, the then leader of the Exclusive Brethren took this separation from evil to a new level, in that he decreed you should not eat, drink, mix, have anything to do with anybody outside of the church. This meant that people that had families who didn't go to the Brethren Church had to cut them off.
They're building their own schools and in the last 30 years have refused college education to their children.
Brethren used to go to university, but that was pointed out through the leader at that time.
The leader, yeah.
That it was not protective at all. In fact, many that went to university have left us.
Really?
And
I'm shocked.
Many that are still in fellowship with us regret ever going through that sort of learning process.
What?
The influences at university are not helpful at all in a moral sense.
Well, remember, kids, learning, it's morally wrong.
Discerning
evil.
Between what's right and wrong, refusing evil, choosing good, and that's the reason we don't go to university.
You know what? That makes perfect sense. University. You might as well rest your infant child on the fiery breast of Beelzebub himself. You see, you can't have your children become worldly and knowledgeable, because then their minds might open up to new perspectives, new possibilities, and broader understandings of the world, which would in turn go some way into de-radicalising them. They'd be sodomised by the brainworms of Lucifer. So yeah, isolate your children, because echo chambers are surely the way to an enlightened world. Oh no, wait. That doesn't make sense, does it? Shit.
They largely work in their own businesses, providing each other with jobs and mortgages. Men don't wear ties, women don't cut their hair. Members marry only within the sect. Divorce is rare.
My mother had to cut off from her mother. My husband had to cut off from his grandparents. This level of separation has got more extreme over the years, so that the exclusive brethren now live in a very insular community. If anybody leaves the exclusive brethren, they're completely cut off from their family. They only work for each other. They have their own schools. From the age of 7, children go to brethren schools so that they are kept separate from the evil, that is the brethren's perceived evil of what is in normal schools. They only mix with their own community. They do not socialise or mix with anybody outside the community.
After I'd been shut up for 5 months, I was then told that now you've been withdrawn from.
It means they're done with you. You are out of the church. Once you're in that state, it's only a matter of time before your wife divorces you if you're married, or your husband divorces you.
People in that position were basically dead to us. If we saw them in the streets, we wouldn't talk to them. Your faith is the most important thing to you, and if that means that you have to let go of your sisters and brothers, mothers, fathers, children, you'll do it because that's the right thing to do.
You can't communicate with them. You may even never see them again, literally never see them again in your life.
Ooh, so, yeah, having your loved ones taken from you, and yet you know they're still there. They could still talk to you, they could still embrace you, love you, but they just won't. They refuse, because in their minds you're not worthy. Now that's quite the punishment. And like, this gaggle of manic, Bible-thumping lunatics wield that threat like a weapon. I mean, being brainwashed is one thing, but being forced to watch your whole family fall under such a strong spell of mental manipulation for fear of losing them entirely. I mean, fuck me, I'd rather die. I'd just jump into the fire as I wave my goodbyes. And also, the idea of an insular community like the exclusive brethren has always kind of disturbed me. Only working for brethren companies, going to brethren churches, taking your kids to brethren schools. I mean, how close-knit can you actually get? I can't imagine there are tons of people signing up. I mean, the dating pool has to be dwindling, right? I mean, do you think you could get to the point where your half-brother on your dad's side and your half-sister on your mum's side are just railing each other on the regular? Like during the family barbecue, you're just smiling with wide eyes as they passionately tongue each other on the patio furniture. Then you just have to look away as her hand slowly moves up his shirt. And then your mum walks up and says, "I'm so glad they found each other inside the brethren." And you're just thinking, well, Mum, my brethren is going to be inside my sistren later.
No means to demean Dad, but he said, "I'd rather see you dead and in a coffin, having a brethren burial, than leave the church and go out into the world." And I've sort of thought about that for years. Like, that's a really harsh thing to say. Like, you'd actually prefer your oldest kid to be dead in a coffin in the ground. But then, in his context, he was effectively losing me. Like, he felt he was going to lose me anyway.
I mean, I imagine when your brain has been fed through the ideological food processor of religious fundamentalism, you might wish your kids were dead rather than living free in the world. I mean, what good is a life of joy and possibility when in the end, you'll just end up burning in hell, your soul forever damned to endless torment as what remains of your mind is driven mad through the never-ending pain furiously inflicted upon you day after day. Then as your last shred of innocence is dissolved in a sea of flames and unrelenting hate, you finally break, and all that horror starts to feel like love, and you accept the degradation as you're left derelict amid a mass of screaming corpses, and yet You smile because this is what you deserve. Or, you know, I don't know, some shit like that. The broader point I'm trying to get at here is that all of these people have been utterly convinced that the outside world is evil and hell awaits all those that don't adhere to their religious beliefs and way of life. Which is why I kind of hesitate to call them bad people. I mean, I make no bones about it, they're fucking mental. But they are truly convinced that what they're doing is the right thing, and if you believe that, then are you a bad person? I mean, the argument could be made that your actions are bad, maybe bordering on evil, but your intentions are good, at least with the way you've been taught to view the world, and people will do the most heinous of shit for the greater good. And I suppose that's the scariest part, and also, it's kind of ironic really that they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. If hell is real, then, well, let's be honest, all of these fuckers are going. I mean, imagine a world where you couldn't just say a few kind words to the local cashier.
If you don't shut your fucking mouth, I will kill you.
A world where just speaking to a stranger on the phone is grounds for punishment. I don't know, maybe these people have made their own hell.
It's one of the hardest things about leaving a church like the Brethren is that you go through that process, you know you're doing what's right, but also at the same time you know that you following what you believe is the right thing to do is going to cause unspeakable pain to a whole lot of people you care about.
I mean, this chap here, he decided to take it upon himself to leave the Brethren. And yet he feels so much guilt for the pain and suffering that he's caused his family because, in their minds, he's chosen evil. He's seen it fit to lay down with the devil, and so he's damned for hell. He knows that his family are so indoctrinated that him leaving has caused them a lot of hurt, and yet still he chose to leave. What does that tell you? If you're willing to not only cut off your entire family and live with the knowledge that you're causing them an incredible amount of anguish and struggle, and yet still leaving is preferable. I mean, fuck. Jesus Christ.
I mean, the thing that really sticks out is you don't realise fully until you leave how you have these gaping holes in your knowledge of how the world works. And it's the smallest things, like not knowing how to eat in a restaurant. Like you don't know what the protocol is for ordering food or getting the waiter's attention because you've never eaten in a restaurant. Or not knowing how to use a TV remote.
Come on, everyone knows that. But seriously, one of the things I find so odd about the exclusive Brethren is they live in the modern world. They live amongst us, daywalkers, if you will. They could be your neighbours. I mean, how many of us talk to our neighbours these days? I mean, I don't. If my neighbour knocked on my door and started rambling some garbled nonsense about a barbecue invitation or a dinner, I'd just stare at them, unblinking, as all joy and positivity just fell away from my face, leaving my expression cold, almost lifeless. Then they'd look at me confused as I slowly closed the door, not breaking eye contact the entire time. Then, after I'd disappeared behind the crack in the door and the latch clicked shut and they're still standing there dumbfounded, I'd very obviously peek out from behind the curtains, still not blinking, as I really slowly ate an apple until they just shake their head and leave. My point is, these people could be living next to you and you'd never know it. There could be a mob of Christ-loving lunatics living right across the way from you, and you're just going about your day in blissful ignorance as they're staring at remote control like a chimp trying to work out a Rubik's Cube.
Well, I remember, this is a big thing. So I buckled in my late teens, maybe even early 20s by then. I buckled under the pressure of feeling guilty for things that I had done. So I asked to speak to the priests. I went through a list of things that I'd done, which included listening to pre-recorded music and watching TV. Masturbation was the biggest thing, and that just caused me so much shame. These people don't realize that I masturbate once in a while, and nobody else would ever have ever done anything like that. I knew I was going to hell. I knew it. At the meeting, the leader picked up the microphone and read off a long list of everything that I'd done. in front of about 250 people. My mom wept in shame. She was so ashamed of me. She was just ashamed that she had failed as a mom. They had failed as parents. And they had this wicked child. No other parents had a wicked child like that.
I wonder if, when they're sat in one of their windowless churches, just baking under the artificial light, listening to their leader shame one of the brethren teenagers for having the temerity to commit the mortal sin of masturbation, do they ever stop to think as they turn and stare at one of the blank, grey, featureless walls on all sides, is this a bit weird? Am I, perhaps, a little odd?
Growing up, the outside world was portrayed in an extremely terrifying manner, really. A place where if I was to leave, I would be doomed to fail, doomed to not succeed at life, not be happy, not achieve my goals in life. I would encounter unfriendly people who would use me for what I had to offer and then move on to the next person. They were all tools of the devil, and that's where they were going. They were going to go to hell, and if you left and you were there with them, that's where you would go.
Situations when you'd be like driving up and you just refuel the car, and you'd be sitting in there with the rest of your family and just watching the other families go by, and okay, they look like a normal family and they look like a normal family, and it looks like he's come back from sport or something like this. Like, they don't look that evil, actually, and yet we're busy saying in the church that like these people are on the highway to hell sort of thing. Like, they don't look like that. They look happy. People in the world aren't happy. Well, they look really happy. Look at that family over there, like they're having a good old chuckle.
I suppose when you've been led to believe that evil lurks around every corner and merely stepping away from your Christian family can lead you right into the path of a masked killer, when simply going to the store is a matter of life and death, it would be hard to break away from those beliefs. But then again, when all you need to do is look out of your window and see that, well, that's just a complete load of shit, isn't it? The children aren't being massacred by predators, old women aren't being savagely brutalised by feral dogs let loose by the local human trafficker. Piss isn't raining down from every open window as your neighbours expose themselves willingly in the cold light of every new dawn. Gangs of rabid carnivorous children aren't swarming each new delivery man, leaving nothing but viscera-soaked bones in their wake. No, I mean, it's not perfect, of course it's not, but people get by, and most are genuinely happy. So it begs the question, how does this level of cognitive dissonance persist? Well, maybe we'll never know. And some things are best left to be eroded by the harsh winds of niggling scrutiny.
Jesus Christ, great.
Owen Cook was born into the Brethren. He was disciplined by the leadership in Hawley, Surrey, when his parents reported him for having a girlfriend who was a worldly.
You mean heathen? Satan's wet nurse?
When it was actually confirmed that I was with a girl that wasn't in the religion, I was withdrawn from, completely taken away from it, so I couldn't have anything to do with them.
Ratted out by your own mum? What a fucking bitch.
Withdrawn from means that Owen was declared evil and isolated from the meeting, even from family members.
Withdrawal, that's where a serious sin comes to light.
Dating outside the Brethren? You fucking monster. Please, Garth, no. Don't use my Christian name, you devil.
1 Corinthians 5 speaks about certain serious sins, and we would then have to withdraw from a person if they weren't repentant, if they weren't getting right about it.
But some sins are beyond penance.
You stole fizzy lifting drinks, so you get nothing.
St. Paul commanded the men of Corinth that if anyone called brother be fornicator or avaricious or idolater or abusive or a drunkard or rapacious, not to mix with him. Remove the wicked person from amongst yourselves.
Owen would have understood the consequences of his actions.
And yes, of course, love and admiration of a woman is a beautiful thing, so long as she's one of us, not one of those dirty outsiders. I mean, Jesus Christ.
The priests in Hawley ordered Owen to remain with his parents, while his brothers and sisters were placed away from home.
Yes, save the children, have them flee from this lapdog of the tainted bosom, for he hath suckled at the teat of evil.
After 2 years, Owen brought the family together again by leaving it.
Fucking hell. The only thing that brought the family back together was his expulsion. They fucking cut him off like a tumour.
And all the family had come back, all the cars, and we were all back in the drive. I think that's about the hardest thing about it, is leaving your family behind. There's no question about it, because there's nothing like your own family, and you can never replace them.
I mean, it's just really sad, isn't it? A poor bastard.
No Brethren member should have access to computers because the leader has declared all modern technology evil.
Yeah, PC stands for pornographic chokehold. Nintendo, isn't that one of Satan's generals?
Today, Brethren refer to what they claim is a New Testament prophecy that the man of sin, who will emerge in the last times, will use computers to control the world.
Are they talking about Elon Musk or Bill Gates? I mean, I kind of like the title Man of Sin. And the Men of Sin sound like a biker gang from an exploitation movie. Or maybe like an anti-religious homosexual rap group that are just sticking it to, or maybe in, the man.
Throughout their history, their leaders have been granted status as the Man of God, with overall power over members of the sect.
If you think of the Lord Jesus Christ himself, how he was here on earth, he was the most approachable, humble, lowly man. He says, I'm in the midst of you as the one that serves. And that's how these men are. They don't hold their lives as dear to themselves. They put themselves at the service of others.
What the fuck are you talking about? You're not approachable? You don't even acknowledge other humans? Right, well, I'm just going to have to call this here and end the video. And believe me, I barely scraped the surface. There's stories of kids being taken from parents, people coming out as gay and being banished from ever seeing their loved ones again, multiple cases where people have taken their own lives. So, I suppose I'll just sum this video up by saying, for want of a better term, these people are religiously cooked.
Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Open up your hate and let it flow into me. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. You mother, get up, come on, get down with the sickness. You fucker, get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Madness is the gift that has been given to me. I can see inside you the sickness is rising. It seems that all that was good has died. Oh no, the world is a scary place. Now that you've woken up the demon in